Hey, this is Stacia, and I'm going to share with you my round 5 game from the Ohio Congress. So in this game, I finally got the white pieces, and I had to play a 10-year-old kid rated 1792, which is currently 100 points higher than me. So yeah, that's the breaks, I guess. So I sat down, but happy that I had white and thirsty for blood. I played one e4. Now I'll tell you that there's really only 2 moments in this game that are worth looking at. So I'm going to show you the game quickly, but focus on those 2 moments. He went e5, knight to f3, knight c6, bishop c4. We have the Italian game on board. Knight to f6, and I went d4, inviting a Scotch gambit with pawn takes and castles. So we are in a Scotch gambit. My opponent played the best continuation in my mind, which is knight takes e4. Free pawn, why not take it? Now rook e1 pinning the knight, and d5. And it looks like black is doing awesome here. They are currently 2 pawns up. They have the center, and okay, but on the other hand, the knight's pinned. So because of that, white has a nice move here, which is bishop takes d5. Looks like a sacrifice, but it's actually just a tactic, because after queen takes d5, there's knight to c3, and that attacks the queen, it attacks the pinned knight. You cannot take with a pawn because of queen takes queen. So basically, black has to move their queen in this position. Now queen h5 is the main line, but my opponent played queen to a5. So I'm down a piece still, so I took back. And he now played bishop to e6. And okay, in this position, I was out of theory, and I probably spent about 10 minutes while my opponent huffed and puffed because he was impatient. But I wanted to come up with the right plan here. I could try to simply win my pawn back with something like knight e to g5, I thought. Or I could stay a pawn down. The problem is I'm a pawn down and my opponent's about to castle. So I either have to keep the initiative and play a pawn down, or I should win my pawn back. Of course, I chose to stay a pawn down, which is the wrong decision. Had I played this move, this is actually the main line. I thought they would castle here, and I get to take. And after takes, I get to play rook takes. And this is going to be, he'll get to develop his bishop. But the pawns are equal, materials equal. And I was actually worried that I might be slightly worse here. Turns out that if I ask the engine, it actually says white's slightly better. And I'm not exactly sure what the reason is, but I have a feeling it has to do with this move. Bishop to g5, which basically takes the initiative a little bit. They have to go like rook here or something. We pile on it. They can play king d7. If they don't play king d7, that's probably okay too, though. Like, what's wrong with this? Okay, now it feels like white has an edge, though. So king d7 could be played, I guess. And, all right, I guess we're understanding why white has a slight edge, but it wasn't something that I saw from this position. So I played another move, and masters have played it, 137 of them, which is bishop to d7. And I expected queen b6, which was played in the game. And now I thought, well, I don't know this position, but what I do know is I'm a pawn down, and my opponent's about to castle queenside. I'm castled kingside, so if it's opposite side castling, maybe I should just push pawns. Why not? I mean, as a second choice, this probably is correct. I'm not sure, but oh, actually, I see the opening book has a different move. But I played the wrong move here, and this is moment number 1 to focus on. I played a4. I played a4. And I had some tricky ideas here, but they actually don't work. I mean, they just don't work. And I even kind of knew that. And I played it anyway. I mean, they can just castle here, which he did. So what should I do instead? well, after bishop d2 and queen b6, I still have the option here to play knight to g5. That's one thing. But another thing is bishop g5, which is the normal move if the queen starts on h5 instead of a5. And the idea behind this move is that it stops black from castling. Now, I ruled this out during the game, and I can't exactly remember why. But, oh yeah, actually, I think it's this very continuation that they show, the engine is showing, because I thought they could push their pawns, right? If I do this, why not g5? Why not, you know? And they could just castle. And, like, isn't black just better here? Like, I just let them get a head start on their pawns. I'm, like, helping them with this. So I didn't go for this. And that's probably why the computer says after bishop g5, h6, bishop h4, g5. It wants to play knight f6 check, which I didn't see in my calculation. But that makes sense, right? We're displacing the king now. Now the king is never going to castle. And all right, that's worth something for sure. How much remains to be seen. But I'm turning the engine off because I just want to show you my game. So after a4, I had some ideas here with, like, I actually was hoping he would take the pawn because here I think I have rook b1 and the queen's very short on squares. I mean, what is she going to do? I mean, this or this, right? And then I take here. So this to me felt like white's doing well. Feels like a gambit position. But they don't have to do that, of course. And then I thought, well, I'm threatening a5 at least. And if the queen goes here, I wish I had a light square bishop, but I was thinking maybe I can get this knight c5 move in. But you know what? I have to be more concrete than that. Because, I mean, how am I ever going to get knight c5 in with this bishop here? He never has to move it. Like, that's simply unavailable. That should be end of story. So in the game, he castled, which I think is the best move. I went queen to e2. I just wanted to get my queen out of line with that rook. And I also wanted to take away the b5 square so that if I go a5, I didn't want queen b5. I want the queen to go to a5. And then he played d3. And I think d3 was a fairly nice move. I mean, it's forcing, and it just highlights how slow my plan is. My plan's way too slow, right? Like, I wanted to pawn storm the queen side. I mean, I got one pawn up, and that's it, you know. And after this, the queen just moves somewhere better. And then what do I really have? It's going to take forever to pawn storm. So this was never the right idea, is my conclusion. Okay, so I simply take. He goes knight to d4. I took the knight. Queen takes. And I calculated this move, bishop to e3. And when I calculated this, I saw pretty far, but unfortunately for me, it was not quite right. But I'll show you what I calculated. I mean, in this position, and this is position number 2, I'm going to lose my d3 pawn, right? Now, the d3 pawn, though, is isolated and weak. So even if I could hold on to it, which I don't think I can, it's probably not worth it. Okay, so I'm going to go down a pawn again, but I'm okay with that. But I calculated a line where I won't be down a pawn. I can win my pawn back. And I'll show you what my idea was. My idea was bishop to e3. And I thought after queen takes, I could just trade, bring this rook out. The rook's like a little overextended, not that much though. All right, and then in that position, I could potentially play bishop takes a7. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Stacia, that's like the very famous, like, Bobby Fischer, like, Game 1 World Championship match against Spassky, like, blunder, where he took him, you know, black just plays b6 and traps the bishop. Okay, that's fine, but I have analyze lines where you can take that pawn, they play b6, and then you go a5. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be nice. My 10-year-old opponent might not look this deep, right? And then I calculated more from here. I thought once they go a5, if they go king b7, I can then take. My pawn defends my bishop, right? If they take back, my rook defends my bishop. And I thought, I'm going to keep the piece. And I stopped my calculation there. And unfortunately for me, I didn't understand that position. And probably because I didn't even think about it long enough to understand it. I just saw this stuff in the calculation. I was like, it works. I'm going to do this. Plus, I didn't see anything better. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to lose this pawn in my mind. So this all happens. Bishop b3. I grab the pawn, b6, a6. I mean, you have to admit it's an interesting idea. But after all this happens, we have a position like this, and it is a way to move. And I realized something here. I realized that maybe my bishop's protected and safe for the moment, but I can't move it. I'm in a bind now, right? I can't move my bishop. My rook's tied to my bishop. And if black consolidates enough, they'll just bring a rook over and attack it and win it. So, like, even though I was correct that I don't lose it immediately, I didn't see that I'm in this situation where I have an entombed bishop. It's called entombed. So I've got a mummified bishop there. And yeah, now I have to embark on a rescue operation. And the rest of the game is based on that. But unfortunately for me, there is no successful way to rescue the bishop from here. I played knight g5. I mean, what else? I had a lot of ideas, but none of them seemed to work. I really thought about playing this move, actually. I thought about playing knight to c3. Idea being, I thought he would go bishop c5, right? Why not protect the pawn? And then I would try knight to a4. Now that attacks some stuff, right? But I felt like, why can't he just, like, play here or something? I don't know. Like, that's, I got nothing, right? I mean, if he takes, I mean, this is great. I could do this. You know, I successfully traded off my trap piece. I should be much better here. In fact, I'm even on the rook. Yeah, I actually saw this line. But then I also realized he doesn't have to take it. He can just, you know, do something else. Like, I don't know. I just thought this move. It dominates the bishop, right? Like, or the knight, I mean. It just dominates the knight, and now I can't move the knight either. It's just like complete domination. So I didn't do that one. I instead went for this move, which I didn't think was much better. But you got to play a move. And he brought his rook back, which I thought was a little passive. So here I played a tactic. But I kind of realized I was already lost. So I was playing for tricks. So I played rook takes, e6. Now, this tactic works. I don't lose material. The problem is that if he takes one way, I think it's really good for me. But if he takes the other way, then I'm just trading pieces for no reason. And my opponent is 1700, so he took the right way. He took like this, allowing knight f7, but really I just win back the exchange, which I sacked. So not so good. My idea though was that on rook takes, if he takes with a rook, I was not going to take the rook here. I was going to play knight takes f7. And after rook g8, there's knight d8 check. Look at this. And now that king has to move. Guess what? There's not a lot of squares. Can't go here. Can't go here. I mean, do you really want to go in the corner? It's risky as ever with the rook here, right? Can't really do that. So the king would be pulled away. So let's say here. And then I get to take the rook or check. And this would probably be winning for me. So, I mean, when I say play for tricks, you know, the tricks are decent, at least. But he took the right way. He just simply took here and allowed knight f7. Now he can recapture my knight with the bishop, which he did. So now I'm just in trouble. I went king f1, another trick. I thought this would be a beautiful way to maybe draw the game, because if he takes my free pawn, I play b3. And this bishop's not entombed, he's just trapped, right? Like, what does he do? Go here? And then I, you know, like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I feel like my chances are a little better, at least. But in the game, he played bishop c7. Just guarding b6, I guess. So I went rook c1. I'm just playing for tricks. Now if he takes my bishop, I'll go here. I mean, I don't know. I got to do something. Rook c7. All these moves I'm playing, though, I feel like are like blitz moves or something, you know? Like, you play these moves in blitz and they sometimes work. In classical chess, they don't work. Your opponent sees what you're doing and they just don't do it, you know? So rook c1, rook d8, g3. Yeah, I don't want him to take that pawn anymore. And, oh, I didn't enter any more moves in here because it was basically just a long, drawn-out thing where I tried to save the bishop, but eventually I sack on b6 and just lose. I tried to get my one last hope, which I'm not going to demonstrate, but my one last hope is that there is this endgame, which I feel like every under 1000 knows it, where you can get the wrong colored rook pawn. And I almost had that in the endgame. We had a situation where I got this pawn left. He had an extra bishop, but it was 2 versus 2 over here. And it was very close to being drawn. Like, it was almost drawn. But unfortunately, what I needed to do was trade it off so that he would just have a rook pawn left. If I could do that, he had only a rook pawn and only a dark square bishop. And the rooks are traded off, which they did trade. Then it would be a draw. So I played a long time after that. I'm not going to show it, though, because I don't feel like putting the moves in. But it was clear to me that it was not forced, right? Like, he would literally have to blunder into that. Now, I've played another player that did that. The last Congress, actually, I was lost against Scotty Robinson. And he did blunder into that wrong color rook pawn thing. But this opponent was not going to do that. So, unfortunately, I had to take a loss in the final round as well. I ended up 1.5 out of 5 in the tournament. I played up a section. I was like the second lowest rated in the whole section. So 1.5 isn't a complete disaster, but to me it kind of is, right? Like, I feel like I can do better than this. And I mean, this game, like, so why did I lose this game? I mean, I think one main reason I lost it is that I wasn't flexible with my ideas, right? Like, as soon as I was out of theory, I had a feeling that playing like this wasn't right, and I just really wanted to, so I did it. Like, I've got to stop doing what I want and be more objective. Like, what should I do in this position? That's a big thing. And the truth is, part of the reason I didn't want to is because I hadn't looked at this. Like, why am I studying opening theory and trying to understand every single move at the beginning of the game? That's helpful. It is. But I think what would be more helpful is if I looked at a lot of master games quickly and got a feel for what the plans are and got a feel for certain moments, like more critical moments. I think that would go a long way. So I'm going to change the way I study chess as a result of this game. But the other thing was just a calculation problem. But you could argue that I only did this because I knew I was worse anyway. So I thought, I knew this was risky for sure, but I calculated and I calculated wrong. So, you know, deep calculations, I think I should not trust in general. But also, I mean, the good news is I'm learning from this position. I have seen, I think, a glimpse of a position like this before in the past where pieces get entombed for a long time. In fact, I've done it to other people, but I didn't see it here for some reason. I just didn't see, because I was too excited about the fact that my rook guards my bishop at the end or something. And so any emotions, positive or negative, will lead you to not be objective. And in chess, you need to be objective. So that is going to be a focus of mine moving forward. Unfortunately, I think that sometimes, like working with strong chess kids or just chess kids in general, you have to be a little entertaining, especially if they're not necessarily sold on chess yet. And you also need to talk less objective to be a good teacher. I know that sounds weird, but in my opinion, if they're very low rated or even just under 1,000, sometimes not being completely logical and objective, I think is important, because you need to teach certain ideas that are typical and challenge the kids to like figure out if they work or not and if they should play it or not. But I think that mindset has like bled into my real chess. So anyway, I know I'm blabbing / whining / something. So I'll end the video here, but yeah, it was a painful loss for sure. I don't like losing to 10-year-olds. I don't like losing in this way where I just didn't find the right plan and I calculated wrong and lost because of it. But at least I'm proud of myself that I didn't just resign immediately. I did play for tricks. There was chances to maybe save it. It didn't work, but I still think that was the right approach. So this is Stacia, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye.